my day.
Good evening. Welcome to the October 21st, 2024 meeting for the Planning Board for the Town of Putnam Valley. Tonight, we have 7 items on the agenda. The first item up under review is Piano Mountain. That's been removed from the agenda at the request of the applicant. Second item up would be Chia Michael, 7 Sunken Mine Road, tax map number 51.1-60, file 2024-0292. The subject property consists of plus or minus 4.24 acres and located on 7 Sunken Mine Road within the CD zoning district. The applicant is proposing to construct a 2-bedroom, single-family residence with a well and a septic on a previously approved lot. The applicant requires a site development plan and a major grading permit.
I mean, that separate thing? No, that's called out.
Good evening, I'm Troy Wojciechowski, engineer for the applicant. Mike Chia is right over there. To enjoy the show tonight. Yeah, we're before you for a single-family residential lot at 7 Sunken Mine Road. We're actually before you 8 years ago, thank you, and received an approval for a house that was never built. Lot was sold to Mike. So we're actually going for a 3-bedroom house. I need to correct the application for that. The plans state 3-bedroom. The architecturals actually show 2 bedrooms and a loft, but the loft could actually be a 3rd bedroom. And the site's been approved for a 3-bedroom septic system. In fact, speaking with Todd, the county health department regulations have actually been kind of reduced as far as the design flows go. So we're going to leave the septic leach field as approved, and that'll actually be suitable for a 4-bedroom if Mike ever wants to come back to the board for an addition or something like that. The only thing we have to do is just bump up the size of the septic tank to 1250. So we're going to do that. So I can just kind of go through this. You want me to bring the mic with me?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you had an opportunity to look at the original approval. Looks very much the same as this. The same driveway layout, houses in the same location. The previous approval had like an art studio down here. That applicant liked to blow glass. Mike doesn't get into that so much. So we just have a pretty basic 2-bedroom house with a loft. So we'll go for 3-bedroom. Layout's the same, septic is the same, and the well is the same. And I figured out why we put the well over here, because the septic leach field for the adjacent property is kind of over here. Because at our workshop, they were kind of like, why are you putting the well all the way out there? So once I got back to my office, I was able to figure that out. So not much more to say, so we have the proposed well, same location as it was approved. The leach field is here. The grading is much less compared to the original approval, and tree removal count is down. And there's actually more buffer that'll be undisturbed over on this side of the property. The previous application had much more grading, and I think like a tiered wall effect. So overall, it's a nice plan. We're proposing stormwater infiltrators to take roof runoff and some of the runoff from the front sidewalk that leads over to the driveway parking area. We've done soil testing previous with Todd. The perk rates were pretty good, and we didn't hit rock. I mean, we hit rocks, but not bedrock. So that's really all I have to say. I don't know, I'm here for any questions or comments.
The existing footprint will remain the same?
It's actually smaller. It's a smaller house.
It's reducing. Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I think I actually might have brought the previous approval. If you want, I can grab that.
Limits of disturbance got pulled in quite a bit, actually, I think by almost 2/10 of an acre. So, with the removal of the garage and the layout of the new proposed house, The older house actually was built more to the, what do they mean, the west, I guess, right? So it was digging into the hill and creating some disturbance that had to be sloped back. Yes.
There's kind of a two-pod.
Yeah, there's two pods built, yeah.
Much larger driveway, the gas flowing, the glass flowing building. Comparison.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty.
As for the drawings, is there a tree plan? This
Yeah,
application?
yeah, there was.
You listed like 38.
38 trees.
38
trees.
Did I come up with that? 38 trees, I think. I counted them. Hopefully I had all my fingers and toes working. 38 trees.
Take your shoes off?
I had to take both shoes off. Okay, so this is an application, as Troy said, for a 3-bedroom house, well, septic driveway, some retaining walls, presently unimproved 4.24 acre parcel. It's located in the CD zoning district. Total land disturbance is indicated as 0.79 acres. I went out and checked the wetlands, which was just present in the corner of the property near the driveway. Has not changed. There's an intermittent water course down there. There's no proposed disturbance. There's also a wetland on the other side of the street. The buffer is reflected onto the subject property. There's no disturbance as well. I'm sorry. Better?
Awesome.
Thank you. So basically, the house is sandwiched between the wetland buffers, and so there's no need for a wetland permit on this particular application. This is a type 2 action under seeker. Site development plan approval is required, as is a major grading permit according to the code enforcement officer. Type 2 action under seeker, a long form EAF was submitted by the applicant dated September 25th. It appears, based upon my review, that there are no variances required for this particular application. As I indicated, the wetlands, there's the intermittent water course, and the wetlands across the street, of which there's no impacts. 38 trees are proposed to be cut. The soils, it's not on the map, but I think it's all Charlton, Chatfield soils up there in the entire site. The one thing about the site that's a bit limiting is that there's a lot of steep slopes out there, and there's some rock. And so basically a blasting plan has been provided, and indeed that blasting will be required. I'll let Todd take a whack at that. There are indicated threatened species out there, Indiana bat and northern long-eared bat pursuant to the EAF. So tree cutting restrictions will apply. The cutting can occur only between November 1st and March 31st of the following year. Board of Health approvals are pending. Just a couple odds and ends here. I did not see a current copy of a survey from a licensed surveyor. The revision dates, I think, need to be updated on the plans a bit, at least one plan sheet. Board of Health approvals we mentioned. Leave Todd the blasting plan to review. Todd, one of the things that Todd and I have been working on with the board on all of these projects around the lakes, Troy, is to demonstrate that post-construction, there's no increase in phosphorus loading. Ascowana is a phosphorus-impaired lake. You're in the watershed. So what people have done in the past is find the design point and then do a pre- and post-phosphorus loading, like with the simple method, something very easy to do. And that will demonstrate that we're not increasing the loading of phosphorus into Ascowana. That's been something the board's been doing for many years now. I'd like to see the interior floor plans of the residence and provide dimensions of the height of the building elevations. All plan sheets need signature blocks. I think one sheet it was missing. Height of the retaining walls, driveway site distances. The driveway comes from right at the corner, and I think the prior highway superintendent had no issue with that, but you might want to refer that just to make sure that he's comfortable with the location of the driveway. The drainage for the driveway is a series of check dams going down along the edge of the driveway and a swale. Troy, I was wondering where the soil stockpile is indicated. First, is it possible to not disturb that area and leave that alone and have the stockpile in a different spot, or alternatively, and it's just thought, you might not need it, just to be on the safe side, if that is the stockpile, when that's removed at the end of construction, could that be a small sediment basin or settling basin where the water would come down into the swale and settle out, just so we don't have any icing or conditions on the road at all, just a fail-safe type of thing. It's already
During
disturbed.
construction or a permanent feature?
Permanent feature. You know, it doesn't have to be anything fancy, just throw some seed mix down there and make it a depressional area to capture the water and attenuate the flow before it gets down to the,
Sure.
to the road. Let's see, the driveway's at 12% grade in a certain location, however, it's going to be paved. All reports need to be signed and sealed by the design professional. And Tori, are they gonna, or Mike, gonna have any decks or patios or anything like that at all on there?
Behind the house, there'll be a patio.
Okay, so if you just show that on the plans for the next round, that would be great. And that's all I got. So as far as I can tell, pending Todd's recommendation, my recommendation is that this seems to meet the requirements to schedule it for the public hearing for the next meeting pursuant to obtaining Board of Health approval. Hopefully you can get that done prior to that meeting. Todd?
Mine are pretty similar to what Bruce had, going through them. All the plans got to be signed by a licensed engineer. I know you're going to do that. References to GP 015-002 need to be changed to GP 020-001 on the plans. We need a copy of the survey. There's probably a survey in the file. You might want to request a waiver from the board to utilize the existing survey because it's older than 2 years. So that's something you might want to think about.
Is the waiver kind of an easy one for that one, or?
Yep, you just requested the board.
Just indicate, if you can, if it's correct, Troy, that nothing's changed from the original survey and
Sure.
see what you can do.
Yep. Submit a copy of the architectural plans for the floor layout with dimensions, interior. Site distances that Bruce mentioned out, shown on the plan, that's probably shown on the old plan. I didn't go back to look at it, but there is a new highway superintendent. You did have an approval for the other plan from the highway superintendent, so you have to go talk to Sean Keeler, who's new now.
Okay.
So it's changed since that time, and get a curb cut approved for that. The subdivision approval states that all houses within a subdivision have to have a fire suppression system. So I believe we talked to you about that in the beginning, so that's something that you're gonna wanna put on the plan, saying that you're gonna be providing a sprinkler system inside the house. If you're not, then a different discussion has to occur, but that is a requirement for the original subdivision. It was on the original subdivision plat. One of the ideas that Bruce just had about making that the soil stockpile area depression, another thing I would add to that is potentially add a catch basin at the end of the swale, put a flow guard into it. The flow guard actually removes phosphorus, and then that catch basin can be run to the first catch basin if you get Sean Keeler's approval, which I'm sure he would give you, because he doesn't want the water coming out into the road. But pitch it all to that catch basin, run it through a flow guard to remove phosphorus, which will help with the simple method calculation, and then run it to the catch basin that's 10 feet away, right there within the right of way.
Okay.
That's what I would recommend on that. And then
Good
the
idea.
driveway is in excess of 10% grade, and we always require that to be paved. One thing to make note is we won't allow you to get a CO in the house based on that until after you pave the driveway. So some people try to bond the driveway and get a CO, be waiting for a different time to do the driveway. In this case, because of the grade, you would have to pave it before you get a CO.
Okay.
Troy, I have one thing to add, just as we're talking here. If you're going to be doing a basement and blasting, what have you, there was a property just down the road from this one that they tried to do the same thing, and when they cut into the rock, they hit a perch water table on the rock, and it basically was catastrophic, meaning that water just poured in and basically filled up in a matter of minutes this hole that they were digging from foundation. So I'm not sure how you would want to address that. I'm just giving you a heads up, and Mike a heads up on that, because if that's what you want to do and you're cutting into rock to create that situation, you might encounter that same thing because you're on the same hillside as that other property. You might want to do some testing out there if you want to do that. Maybe put a diversion swell out there preventatively just to be on the safe side. And you might do that anyhow because that'll divert the clean water around your construction site to begin with. But it's something that I just want to make you aware of as you're going forward.
Okay.
Easy for you.
So we'll put it on the agenda for
Public hearing for the next meeting.
November 18th? November 18th,
Contingent upon receival of the Board of Health approvals.
yes. Any more questions?
No.
Good.
You need a formal I guess you need a formal approval from the health department for that?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's gonna be tough to get by November 18th.
Well, I think what we've done in the past is that if you can't get it, then we'll just have to adjourn the public hearing until you
Yeah, we'll
can.
just- yeah.
So we'll keep it on the, we want to move you forward.
Right.
So it gets you on the agenda for public hearing in the hope that you can get it. If you can't, then the board will just adjourn it until you can get it.
Okay.
Okay?
Just one last question, kind of housekeeping. So, any of the architecturals, elevations, floor plans, do they need to be stamped by an architect at this point?
Not until the very end,
Okay.
not yet.
Okay, but they should be part of the set, or are they like a separate set that's more informational for the board? Do you have a preference, or?
Either way.
Either way.
Either one. Okay. All right,
Thank you, Troy.
thank you.
If you're not doing them, I would make them a separate set.
Yeah, I'd like to do that. I don't want to mess up my engineering
Yeah,
set.
don't,
Yeah,
yeah, don't do
that's
that.
probably wise.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so would somebody like to make
I'll make a motion to grant sketch at this time.
a second?
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item up on the agenda is the Rabbinical Seminary of America, Water Street, tax fact number 85.13-2933.231 and 32, file 2021-0234. Subject property consists of 62.79 acres of land, is located on Barger Street within the R2 and the PD zoning district. The applicant is proposing the construction of a cemetery and access road, parking, a chapel building, a garage, and other improvements to be constructed in 3 phases. The applicant requires a site plan approval, a special use permit, a major grading permit, and a wetland permit. Nobody's here tonight for that, right?
Right.
So we received some information late on Friday.
Yes, so the board has now received a draft of the EAF Part 2. That is the planning board's document to consider and to put together. You will be voting on it eventually. You now possess it. Hopefully you will spend the time between now and the next meeting reviewing it and making whatever comments you feel are appropriate.
It's a fairly lengthy document, so we have to dive into that and go through it. So we'll keep them on the agenda for the next meeting, the 18th. Anybody have anything else?
Dale, I just wanted to inform the board that I received a communication from Steve Marino, who's Rabbinical's environmental consultant, asking for authorization to go out and do some test holes in the general area of the old foundations on the property, kind of where they're proposing the chapel, garage building, parking in that location. It is in the wetland buffer over there, and yeah, I don't know exactly specifically what the action is, but he asked for authorization to do that. And in speaking with Sarah, it just seemed that this is an application with your board. Possibly it would be a wetland permit waiver, but it certainly, I did not want to go in that direction until I heard from you folks. But I do not know specifically what the action is. I'm going to presume that it could be either testing for a septic system, testing for see if the foundations can go in properly and what have you, or testing for stormwater practices over there. So they're doing some type of soil testing, but to what extent, I don't know.
Can we ask for additional clarification on that?
You sure can.
Yeah,
That's what we're gonna do.
yeah, I think that's how I feel. There's a lot that we still have to look into with the AF. you know.
Okay, I'll let him know. Thank you.
It might be a little early for that, but we'll see.
Okay.
Anybody have anything else on the Rabbinical?
No.
Nope.
Next item up would be the Wickapee Culvert, Wickapee Road. The applicant requires a site development plan, a major grading permit, and a wetland permit for a culvert.
Very colorful.
Good evening, Board. Todd Atkinson, Town Engineer, here on behalf of the town to discuss Wickapee Culvert. If you've been through Wickapee Road, you're driving over that little dip, the gravel area. So we've been working with FEMA. The flow here goes from right to left, downstream towards Peekskill Hollow Brook, crossing Peekskill Hollow Road, then out to Peekskill Hollow Brook, coming from Wickapee Reservoir up top. So what we're looking to do here is apply for a town wetland permit, a town major grading permit, and a town site development plan permit to construct this new culvert. Right now, we've been working with FEMA since the storm event in July 9, 2023. We're at a point where the plans, design are 100% complete, the specifications are 100% complete. We're just simply waiting on the New York State DEC wetland permit for the project. As soon as that's issued, we'll be notifying the town board that we'd like to go out to bid. We'll get that approval and we'll go out to bid to do this work. If you've seen Bell Hollow or been out to Bell Hollow, I recommend, if you haven't, to go out there and look at it, but that project is about 95% complete. This culvert actually is the same size culvert, it's just longer. That one's 56 feet long, this one's actually gonna be 90 feet long. What we're also doing as part of this is we are working with the neighboring properties. There's one on the upstream side, which is this house here, that we're gonna relocate a telephone pole that's in their front yard, move it back further. Their service is actually on that line, so we'll actually have to move their service as well, because it's a overhead that drops to underground going up to their property. We've also obtained authorization from them as well as two other property owners on this side of the brook, and we'll be working with them to actually acquire property to put the entire build out within the town right away. So they've already acknowledged through authorization that they're willing to work with the town on that, and that allowed us to move forward with getting the DEC permit.
There's one house on the west side that actually has an island right in with the people.
This is the island right here? Yep.
Yep.
That one actually, we don't need anything from. It's it's the brick house up on the hill.
Right.
It's the white house that's upstream, that owns the property down. The funny part is the stream for that property, as well as the Tompkins Corner where the old deli used to be.
Yeah.
Those two properties are divided by the actual midpoint of the brook.
Yeah.
So it puts us into a weird position. But what we're trying to do here as well is, if you're familiar with that site, there was always an S-turn in there where you had to go through. What we've done is actually realign the actual road so there's no more S-turn. So we're gonna bring the road further to the north, actually northeast, and allow it to transition smoothly through there with no transition in grade. So it's going to straighten out the road. It's going to convey the 20% additional over the 50-year storm event that the DEC requires, and it's going to be a substantial build out. FEMA right now is paying for a majority of the costs. The town's already been working with them, as I mentioned, but we're looking to move this to public hearing, to do a public hearing on it, to ensure that, that we're good to go moving forward to get this built out as soon as we get the DEC permits.
What he said.
Very good. Well, I'll make the next first. Set the public hearing.
Aren't we waiting for we're gonna wait for or should we schedule a public hearing already?
No, I think you can move forward to public hearing. The DEC.
So you have two to do tonight.
Second?
You have two to do tonight. You have the other one as well.
Yeah, two to do, yeah.
Okay.
So you wanna do Brook Falls too?
Yeah, let's do Brook Falls, then we schedule a public hearing for both
For
of
both
them.
of them, perfect.
More
Look at you, right in the back.
So, good evening, board. We're going to talk about Brook Falls now. So Brook Falls, if you've been down there right now, the bridge has been compromised. It's still usable, but it's definitely in a deteriorated state. The abutment that's on the Peekskill Hollow side is got a slight cant to it right now. We've added more material behind it to keep it in place, but when it comes down to it, it's definitely in need of replacement. This we're also working with since July 9, 2023. We're working with FEMA on this to get this project moving forward. This will be a majority of it funded by FEMA as well. When you're looking at this, so Peekskill Hollow Road's up here, and we're coming down and crossing. You have, when you get across there's really like three roads that come across. One goes to the camp, one goes up to, what's that guy's name? Hudson Valley Home Builders. Can't remember what his name is.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
Yeah, it's a contractor. He has the house that faces the bridge, and then the other one goes back up to the back, which is where Vanessa, I think Bill Jr. as well as his mom was up in the back. Up on this side, we have Henry Lopez who lives over here. That's the only property that we need to actually obtain property from. We've already sat down, myself, Sarah, and Bruce sat down, as well as Jackie, had a discussion with him. We got authorization to submit the DEC permit and authorization from him to also negotiate out a purchase of the piece of property we need to be able to put the bridge into the location and make sure the structure is 100% in the town right away. But this one is actually a 58-foot span. It's a bigger box in that area. Everything that's flown from Wikipedia makes its way down past New Hill Road and then comes down Peekskill Hollow. So this is actually a increased height box. So that one is the other one is 27 foot long, and it contains two 8-foot by 12-foot box culverts. This one is actually 27 foot long, but contains two 10-foot by 12-foot box culverts. This meets the design capacity for the 20% additional flow that's required by DEC on a 50-year storm event, And when it comes down to it, this will allow us to be able to transition buses and everything else across there to get out to camp in a much safer manner. The original road or bridge that's out there is about 12 foot wide, whereas this will end up being a full 22 foot wide with guardrails and an extra space on top of it too. So, and we're going to realign it so that the turning radiuses for the buses work a lot better, because right now you come off that bridge and you try to turn, you can't sweep until you clear the back of the bridge, or the actual rear end of the bus will actually shift and hit the guardrail, so, or guide rail. But we're looking here for wetland permit, site plan permit, and major grading permit as well.
One quick, the duration of this project, roughly?
The longest time period for any of these projects is actually getting the precast concrete constructed. So it usually takes about 10 to 12 weeks once they get shop drawings approved. Literally on the ground, digging, installing, crane, everything else is about 6 weeks.
The only reason I ask is the
get that
schools right
right.
down the street, the school bus diversion would be significant as far as, you'd have to go the other way around town to bring kids to and from, correct?
No,
This goes up to the
this
camp.
only has, the camp's not open during the winter, right?
All right.
Yeah. So the only thing I'm talking about is for the school buses going after the camp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the school buses right now, because the town road actually ends right on the bridge. The school buses don't go past the bridge right now, or they're not supposed to, because there's no place to turn around. So I think they go in and they turn in what's the cul-de-sac on the left as you come down Brook Falls? They go down in there and come back around.
No, I thought it was more than.
Yeah, so this won't affect the school district, it will affect the camp. So we will look at the duration and the period of time when it's going to be constructed
Right.
with the camp. I think the camp's going to be happy to get a new bridge in there though, because that alleviates a lot of concerns. So.
Everybody.
But these plans, as well as Wikipedia, these are ready to go to bid tomorrow if we have a DEC permit.
All these bridges were wiped out in the last July 23 storm. Bell Hollow is being worked on now. These two are in the hopper. There's one more to go.
New Hill.
Over at New Hill. Todd and Sarah, everybody's done a tremendous job. I think you've done FEMA, every Wednesday for the last year.
Yep.
Talking to them and making sure that we get this done. So
15 months now.
yeah, actually, it's true, even longer. So this is a tremendous amount of work, and it's ready now for this board to, I believe, schedule a public hearing for these two projects. The town's basically following its own rules, and getting wetland permits and major grading, what have you, and we're waiting for DEC to get us the okay.
And what percentage is FEMA picking up on each one?
Right now, it's 75%, but what we have been seeing, the town actually just got paid, should have got paid today or tomorrow. They'll be getting paid for 2 other projects. And what's happening is FEMA's paying for 75% and the state's still plussing up by 12.5%. So all in all, the town's responsible for 12.5%.
Very good.
So we'd like to get them going so that we don't lose that extra 12.5%.
Yeah. It's perfect.
So you need a grant sketch?
I make a motion that we grant sketch.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Public hearing for the
18th.
18th.
Look at me.
Thank you.
For both.
Yep.
You got 6 weeks.
Just to build it.
Next item up is a discussion. Woods Ed LLC, 70 Woods End Road, tax map number 63-2-30, file 2023-0258.
So this is an application, the board will recall, that was a subdivision, 2-lot subdivision over in Woods End. One parcel of approximately 100 acres, a little less, is to be deeded, or has been deeded to New York State to be part of Fonslock State Park. The remainder parcel is the commercial kennel, formerly known as the Mitchner property, which is approximately 35 acres now, plus or minus. There had been a determination by the Zoning Board of Appeals that even though the property was being decreased in size through the subdivision process, that the use as a kennel could continue as a special use permit on the property, despite the fact the property was smaller. So in the approving resolution that the planning board adopted, basically there was a condition that there would be language on the plans pursuant to review by Sarah that would demonstrate that the property would not be further subdivided. I had a conversation with Glenn this morning, and just to clarify, for everybody's edification, is that the subdivision itself has to do with the special use permit and the kennel, and that as long as the special use permit is in place and the kennel is being utilized, then further subdivision would not be warranted. However, if for whatever reason the applicant, the owner, wishes to discontinue the use as a kennel and have it revert back to a residential property solely, then certainly subdivision would be possible at that time if they apply for it. So I just want to make sure that, and Glenn is here if you have any questions. Does that sound about right? This is what we've talked about?
Well, you said...
No.
You said one thing that makes me less...
Introduce yourself real quick.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Glenn Watson from Beatty and Watson Surveying and Engineering.
Go ahead, Glenn.
Representing the applicant. What raised my main concern was I think you just misstated it a little bit, excuse me, but it's not a note on the plat. It's a note recorded in the county clerk's office against the title of the property. And that's what raised my concern, because that's forever, first of all. Second of all, I think you're shooting yourself in the foot a little bit, because if we had the opportunity to further subdivide it, and I can give you a scenario where that might happen, we would be prevented from doing that. And don't forget, we have 3 houses that are part of that kennel that would probably survive the kennel, and it would bring and if we had the opportunity to subdivide it, it would bring those lots into conformity. So I think that it's just more of an issue than you think. And I have no objection to a note on the plat that says no further subdivision without planning board approval. That's just fine with me. I think that's kind of a normal thing to do. So that's why I asked for that to be changed. My second request was frankly, it's a little bit of ego, and I had to ask permission to do that, but there's no engineering on the plan, and I don't see any reason to require a professional engineer's stamp on either plan. There's none on the site plan, there's none on the survey, and I'll let my ego show a little bit here, but I don't need to be babysit if I'm doing a survey. And that's really all an engineer could do, because there's nothing to do, and they might be actually exposing themselves, an engineer might be exposing themselves to be practicing beyond the scope of their license where they assign a plat.
Does the Board of Regents, the 7206 still exist?
I think
Where you
yes,
have to,
yeah.
everything comes before municipality, has to be stamped?
No, I think our code actually, if you read our code actually requires that a site, this is going to be receiving a special use permit, correct? And a special use permit needs to be signed off by a professional engineer or architect, I believe it says in there, but it doesn't list a surveyor as being one that can sign off.
It's not.
Stand corrected on that point.
Yeah,
With
Glenn, it's
regard to
not reflective of anything other than that. Just the code says.
With regard to the site plan we're talking about, and the special use permit.
Special use permit.
That wouldn't be applied with regard to the subdivision.
Right, right, and but it's in the resolution with the subdivision, so it's all lumped in together. So are you satisfied with the fact that the clarity is that the subdivision will not occur while a special use permit is in effect on the
Yeah,
30-acre parcel?
I have no problem with that at all.
Good, okay. All right, so then what we will do is we'll have a look at that. Sarah's going to be ultimately the one that will review that, and then we'll be good to go.
Yep, that
Okay.
would be fine. And I don't think I need on the subdivision map, do I need a professional engineer's signature, and for what reason?
On the plat.
Will the county accept it without it?
Well, we have non-jurisdictional for the
I can
county.
show you quite a number of them.
No, I'm just asking, yeah.
Yes.
Because
Tell you what,
yeah.
if it's okay with the board, I don't have that memorized oddly enough, that section. I'll have a look at the code tomorrow. If it's all right with you, then I'll let you know if the code says yes, you need it, you need it. If it says you don't, then it can be sufficient with your stamp.
That would be fine, thank you.
Is it fair enough? All
We're good with that.
right, I'll be in touch with
Matt,
you
you
tomorrow.
good?
I'm good, yes, sir.
Yep, that's perfect.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Glenn.
Have a good evening.
You're welcome. Last item up on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for September 23. Who's here for that?
So site plan's gotta be done by, actually, no, license.
But it's a separate.
Except for
Somebody like to make a motion to approve the
I'll
minutes?
make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
I'll figure it out.
Aye.
Minutes are approved.
I do too.
Somebody like to make a motion to close this evening's meeting?
I'll make a motion to close this evening's meeting.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Anything you need from me,